On some days we are excited and full of energy to sit in front of the camera and record. On other days we will lie down and get to record what must be recorded. All right, welcome to the month of July. This is Superb Community Teaching as always, and I think it's a good time to say thank you so much to everyone who's been following for the past 5 months. Right, we started in February, and the consistency, the following, the listening. Thank you to the entire Superb community, and to those who are watching. Thank you. And so this month we'll be teaching SORES to SCARS. SORES to SCARS. And I'm just going to be sharing very, very insightful deductions from the topic. All right, SORES to SCARS. So when you hear SORES, we're talking about wounds, injuries in the skin that has that's opened up some layers of the flesh to reveal hidden layers, and this can either be resulting from accidents or from a deep cut or some form of any form of injury that gives trauma to the skin and removes some portion of the flesh. And the entirety of this teaching is to teach you the healing process, but not for the dermatological kind of sores, rather, but for the sores we carry at soul level, in our inner man, so to speak, at the crux of our heart. This is to teach you the healing process, to be able to effectively rise from the problems that hurt and soulish wounds. Now, what are soulish wounds? Soulish wounds are injuries, so to speak, or figuratively to speak, that we get as a result of activities we've involved in, decisions we've taken, or experiences we've had. These our interactions with life and other humans sometimes leaves us dented. Some we were participants, others were victims of, and the spectrum of traumatic experiences has in itself the ability to dent a person. And what does denting mean? Denting is it affects your cognition, right? You begin to reinterpret things, you begin to associate certain experiences or certain realities to certain things. It begins to re-engineer our thoughts, and sometimes it begins to create a bias for our minds. A case in point is a typical breakfast, right? Not food breakfast, but breakfast that we all get to experience in relationships. Well, not all, right? But typical that, right? And then someone hurts you, breaks your heart, promises you a whole lot and disappoints you, or just does something that eventually leads to the severance of that relationship, and then you begin to interpret everyone in that category of the person. So maybe the person was from a particular tribe, so you say, fear so and so tribe, every one of them, they are wicked persons just because of one person. And so that reaction is evident that there is a sore and it needs to heal. And when the wounds have effectively healed, depending on the area of the skin anyways, but most times when sores, like injuries that can fall into the categories of sores, not just bruises, sores, when they heal, they end up leaving scars that make us remember this particular injury. So how do we go from the actual place of pain to the point where all we have is an emblem of the experience and not the experience's effect? How do we navigate that? And whilst I was preparing this teaching, what I was thinking about it, a thought came into my mind, and I said I was going to share it, and that's where I'll build from. I remembered in medical practice, I'm not a medical practitioner, but in medical practice, whenever sores are being treated, right, they are not perpetually concealed. They are concealed for a time to prevent germs and bacteria and other things infecting the wound, but they are also opened periodically, occasionally, to administer treatment administer medicine, administer some form of treatment, yes, to be facilitating healing whilst concealed. So a typical case will be that you'd see the bandages or the gauze wrapped around with the plasters, then they are either soaked with some form of medications that is placed directly on the sores, and whilst it is concealed, it is healing from within. And they open it periodically. You come to the hospital once in every 4 days, or you come once in every 3 days, or come every weekend to dress this, come every so this, depending on the nature of the sore, determines the periodic opening of it. However, they are not perpetually concealed. Stay with that thought. The second thing again about sores is they are not handled by just anybody. You don't just go to anywhere to get a wound dressed. You dress the wound within the confines or within the prescriptions of your caregiver, your medical caregivers. What do I mean? So it's either you are assigned to a nurse that will handle that in a dressing room, or the doctor himself, depending on the kind of hospital or the kind and nature of the wound in question. Again, the sore in itself has a lot to determine who can handle it, because not every surgical sore can be handled by just any nurse. Yeah, sometimes there is a need for experienced persons to be the ones handling it, whilst some other persons are learning around. But that cannot happen with the soul kind of wound. That cannot happen with human kind of problems, because we do not always create a circle to get treated. We do not always create a group of soul healers and soul first aiders. No, not at all. So why I'm saying this is, stay with the second thought, that there is also someone and some place where that exposure can take place to be engineering the healing process. Now these two thoughts came into mind and just dawned on me that the reason why we do not rise from hurt, the reason why we do not get free from painful experiences is because, one, we perpetually conceal the hurt, and two, we do not have people to administer treatment to the hurt. And that's what this video is making an attempt at. It's attempting to administer treatment. It's attempting to administer healing. And so let's discuss 5 things briefly, and I call it a video. The first thing is, whilst we cannot undo the injuries we have encountered, or the injuries we have sustained, or the wounds, the sores we have gotten from our experiences with people, whilst we cannot undo it, we have the responsibility to not let it perpetually define us, to not let it hurt us permanently, that we do not change or return back to a state of wholeness. We have a duty to not let it be a permanent aspect of ourselves. So it simply means, if a child was to be playing, right, and the child fell and something caught the child deep in the leg, the duty of the parents, whilst that is something that the child has done and we cannot rewind time to save the child from having such an experience, the duty of the caregiver is to begin to administer medications, administer the treatment, such that that wound will leave and the child will be able to function again with that leg properly. The child may have the mark, but the child should be able to still use the leg effectively, as much as we can do that, right? And so that's the same thing with you. You should not be so hurt that you never get back to being yourself. So let's say something happened, and this is not me trying to invalidate the pain of your experiences. They are valid. But whilst they are valid, you should not love pain and romanticize it enough to make it a part of your personality. You should never get to the point where you are a pained person, that we can define you and say this person is always pained. No, there should be a point where, okay, yes, I had an experience. It cost me so much pain. It cost me so much hurt. But I have grown out of the experience and I'm able to face the same challenges again, and not with a bias. So we have a responsibility to get treated. At every point we encounter a soul problem, or we encounter an experience that gives us a deep wound and then causes us to have several reactions. So what am I saying in essence? I'm saying, and this leads me to the second thing, the effects of your sores should always be temporal and not permanent. So it is okay for someone to break your trust and then you lose trust. But you should not totally lose trust in everything in life. It is okay for someone to hurt your love and you are scared to love. It's okay, but it should not be a permanent state of being. It's okay, it's honestly okay for someone to offend you and you are offended, but you should not permanently be offended. So what am I saying? I'm saying add the consciousness of temporality of the effects of SORES. Add the consciousness of temporality of the I don't know if temporality is a word, I coined that, by the way. Add the consciousness of these things being a temporal experience, that you are passing through it now does not mean you should perpetually be in that state. Give these things a deadline, give them a short lifespan. Why? Because if you continue with the effects of an injury, something happens psychologically to people who naturally have those wounds, but because their mind keeps rehearsing the experience and the pain, even when it's healed, they still have the issues that the injury caused without the injury. So you see someone without a particular wound anymore having excruciating pain in the same place, and all medical tests have gone on and we can't find anything wrong again. It's more psychological. Yeah, I know African aspects will say village people, but it's not always village people. In fact, it's the mind that needs to register that this thing is gone, so stop replaying the experience. And this is something you also have to practice in emotional healing, in healing from things that have hurt you in life. Put a short lifespan to the effects, right? Don't rush yourself, but do not also be slow, because every time you stay within the effects of these problems you have encountered or of these bad and hurtful experiences, you reduce your functionality by a great measure. You reduce your ability to stay functional by a great measure. The third thing is healing is a must. It is not an option. You are a unique individual whose life and skills and ability are irreplaceable. I think I made mention of this in 2 videos ago. I said you are the only version of yourself that exists, and whilst they say there is no person that is not indispensable, your own version is the only version that they can have. Even if we can replace with another version, we cannot have you in experience. So what I'm trying to say here is you must remember that you are an aspect of an entire whole. You are a major player in your own right to the grand scheme of life. So healing is a must, because you will end up reacting or interacting rather with other people. You will be involved in interactions that would make you meet other persons, and you owe it to yourself first as well as to them to make them have an experience that does not hurt them. So the fact that you have gone through pain, you owe it to yourself not to become a cause of pain to another. And so this is the third thing that helps you move from SORES to SCARS. You must understand that healing is compulsory. It's not an option. You don't have a choice to stay with the pain and make decisions based off pain and start living a life from there. No, you get to affect. Your isolation would remove a particular resource from the earth. Your brash and or harsh nature will demoralize somebody. Your unloving attitude can be the reason another person does not survive a situation, and you become guilty of the very things that you are damaged by. Now you become the villain as a result of being a victim, and that should not be the story. So you must understand that healing is compulsory. The fourth thing, whilst the inflicted pain was caused by human beings or was caused by an experience that involved persons, you must know that it will take human beings to get you well. Now this is a very slippery part, because there are no guarantees. Except you engage consciously, there are no guarantees. So what do I mean? So in a case of let's say romantic relationships now, and somebody broke your heart, right? The person did whatever, the relationship ended, you are hurt. Beautiful. You will only know that you are healed from that when you are able to love again and love better than you did another person. Not when you are able to be in love and then show the new person shaggy because of what you experienced before. So it will take humans to heal, and you will need to put yourself out there again. So your business failed, people ran away with your money, you will still have to do business with human beings. You will not do business with animals. You will still have to put trust again in transactions. It's going to have to happen again. So it will always take another interaction with human beings. So why I said there are no guarantees is we really can't tell the heart of any other man. You can only be sure of yourself. However, based off principles and values, you can be safe. So now you would need to get back to the drawing board and determine what are your life principles, what are your life values, what are your uncompromisables, so to speak. What are these things for you? I'm not going to bend on any of these things. So there are certain key things I have in my life that until you tick that box, there is no closure between me and the person. I am cordial with you, but you are not a friend. You are not even an associate, so to speak. There has to be certain boundaries you have in place that determines your next interaction. But the boundaries are not weapons of mass destruction. The boundaries are systems to keep you safe, to keep you careful, to be able to filter the crowd. So you must set them. And like I said, like I've always said, principles are universal truths. There can't be any principle you carry that is personal for you and doesn't work for another. Values are also universal, except in certain confines or in certain spaces of life where the value systems are peculiar to them. But values are also universal things when it comes to human interaction. So what are the things you value? And of course, the reason I said these are values is they are not things you expect, they are things you do. So these are things that define who you are, and on the strength of that, you are interacting. You cannot interact with opposites in life. Oneness only works when people are in one accord. So your mindset and the mindset of a friend must align for friendship to be. Else, you are setting yourself up for a heartbreak. And the final thing is allow the scars be scars. So whilst you do all this, you would realize that you begin to heal. Whilst you interact based on your boundary of principles and values, when you make mandatorily that I must heal because healing is not an option, when you know that, oh yes, I'm not going to have to feel this pain for so long, I'm going to allow it to be temporal, you will get to that point where you would realize these things are gone. Don't now rehearse triggers. Don't scratch open the scars. Don't make the sores again. And what do I mean by that? Do not put yourself at risk of getting the same wounds again by going back to same people, by believing the best of everybody and putting yourself on the line of danger. Now, let me balance this. Forgiveness of a person does not mean acceptance into your life as they used to be. I can totally forgive a person who hurts me, but the person has not become a different person. And even if the person has become a different person, our life paths don't want to work together again. You have a choice as to who to work with. So proof of forgiveness is not that you admitted somebody back. The proof of forgiveness is that I bear no grudge, I have no anger. When I meet with this person, I will be cordial, I will be civil, I will not do anything out of moral character to this person. I would not hurt the person, I would not deprive the person of anything, I would not be in any way evil to this person. However, it doesn't mean I will let the person now handle my life again, or trust the person with my secrets, or give the person my resources, or let the person back into the position the person was again. I am at liberty to decide and determine that. And what I'm saying this is, sometimes people come and apologize, but they have not changed. And so this is why before this point, I said, create boundaries based off of principles and values, and you can test it. When someone says this is my new principle, you can test it. You can give the person, okay, for the next 3 months I'm going to watch you do this, for the next 1 year I'm going to watch you do this, for the next 6 months, as this is what I'm going to be observing. Let's see what the results will be, because if we engage every principle, we can replicate results, because we engage the principle of a thing. This is why the same way light bulb, the principle of physics that created for the light bulb in the Western world came into Africa and created the same effect. So it's as basic as that. So do not turn the scars to sores again. Do not rehearse your triggers. Do not put yourself in harm's way. Do not scratch open the sores. What do I mean? When you no longer are in that phase, right? And then you meet persons and you keep using the memory of the past to interact with new people. No, you need your mind to be free of that. You need your mind to be void of all of that. And I really hope this makes some sense to you. Apologies for this style of video, but it is what it is, and I got to do the video, so there are no excuses on our path, right? We will continue our teaching in August. There are more interesting topics. Thank you so much for being with us this long. I love you all. Be good and ensure to allow your SORES become scars and let them be so. All right, take care. Bye.